This is grading exercise video 4-6. For this project, or for this exercise, we're going to create 2 flights of stairs and 3 equal landings from the building to the sidewalk. The riser height is 6 inches, tread is 12 inches. So to get started, I'm going to move this piece of paper so the whole thing shows up. This is where they're talking. We've got to, on this area right here, do 2 flights of stairs with 3 equal landings. So we know that the building, our starting elevation is 108.5. We know our bottom elevation of the sidewalk is 100.78. And we know what our horizontal distance is because we're going to measure that. So let's go through the steps. First thing we got to do is draw out our stairs and landings, and then we can do the grading. So we'll just, first thing, you want to measure the total distance so that we know what this horizontal is. We have to know 2 things. We know what the vertical, if we subtract this, subtract 100.78 from 108.5, that'll give us the vertical. We got to measure the horizontal, so then we can determine our slopes that we're going to need for the landings. But with that, let's go ahead and measure that. So this is 1 inch equals 8 feet. So if we put this down, we'll see that this is 50 feet. The total thing is 50 feet. So what we can do here is draw a line right down the side, because one of the things they say to do is provide dimensions for stairs and landings. So to do that, we're just going to draw a line down, and from this we'll dimension over where the length of our stairs and landings. Next, we want to determine the vertical change in elevation, which we talked about. That's vertical change in elevation is 108.5. So we'll go 108.5 minus 100.78, and that equals 7.72 feet. So I'm just gonna 108.5 minus 108.5 minus 100.78 equals 7.72 feet. I just wanted to double check that, make sure I had it right. So the drop from here to here is 7.72 feet vertically. The length is 50 feet. With that, we can what we need to do now is divide the vertical change by the riser height to determine the total number of steps needed. So the riser height is 6 inches. Riser height is 6 inches. Our total drop is 7.72 feet. So how many times does 6 inches go into 7.72? So we'll go 7.72 divided by 0.5, which is half a foot or 6 inches, right? That is the same thing as 6 inches, which is our riser height. That equals 15.44 steps. Now obviously we can't do 0.44 steps, so we're going to use the nearest whole number, which is 15. So 15 steps. That's how many steps we'll have separated by the landings. So next thing we want to do is multiply the number of steps by the tread length to determine the total length of the stairs. Well, that's pretty easy because the total tread length is a foot, right? 12 inches, and we got 15 of them. So the length of the stairs horizontally is 15 feet. 15 stairs times 1 foot each tread width, 15 feet. So we know that it's 15 feet. Determine the landing length. So now if we have our stairs equal 15 feet, that's horizontally, right? 15 feet of stairs, and we have a total, we said, of 50 feet horizontal distance. What do we have? We got to take that 50 feet, this total distance, and we have to subtract the stairs, because we figure we'll have 15 feet of stairs, minus 15 feet equals 35 feet. Okay, so that's the length of our landing. This would be our stairs, and our landing. Oops. Landings with an L. So this is landings. So 35 plus 15 equals 50, and that's what our total length is. So now we want to determine the vertical change in elevation for the landing. So there's 15 steps times 0.5, right? Because we've got 15 steps, and we got to multiply that by 0.5, or 6 inches, and that equals 15 times 0.5 equals 7.5 feet, right? We have 15 steps. Each step is 6 inches high, the riser. So 15 times 6, or a half foot, 6 inches or a half foot, equals 7.5 feet. But what's our total? We said our total elevation drop is 7.72 feet. Well, we take up 7.5 feet of that with the stairs. What does that leave us for the landings? Well, we got to subtract 7.72. We got to subtract 7.5 from that. 7.72 minus 7.5, and that equals 0.22 feet. 7.5 plus 0.22 equals 7.72, which is our total vertical drop. So we took away the stairs. This is the stairs, vertically, stairs, and this is the landing. So now what we can do is we can check and see if we can figure out now what the slope of our landings would be. Because now we know we have our vertical distance and we have our horizontal distance. So to determine the slope of the landing, we take 0.22 feet vertically, because we're going to figure out the slope of our landing. What's slope? Slope is, where can I write this over here? Slope equals vertical divided by horizontal. So slope vertical 0.22 feet, right? We said 0.22, that's the vertical drop of the landings. And we're going to divide that by the horizontal, which is, for the horizontal, the stairs are 15 feet, the landings are 35 feet, so 35 feet equals 0.22 divided by 35 equals 0.6. 0.22 divided by 35. 35 equals 0.0063. So that is less than 2%. That is just slightly over half, right? Because 0.02 would be 2%, and this is 0.063. So it's not 2%. So that does not work, because if you remember from our reading, let me turn the book back here. ADA, current ADA requirements recommend a maximum slope landing of 2%. Maximum slope. A slope between 1.5% and 2% should drain the surface. So what we're trying to do is be between 1.5% and 2% so that it drains. This is a little too flat for drainage. So with that, what can we do to make it a little steeper? To make it a little steeper, we can subtract a step, right? So instead of 15 steps, what if we did 14 steps? So 14 steps. Well, we can do that same thing. We can, so we'll use 14 steps. So 14 steps, that gives us how much vertical drop? 14 steps, and they each drop a half a foot. So 14, it would be 14 steps times 0.5 equals 7 feet. So now instead of our stairs being 15 stairs and 7.5 feet, now we've got 14 steps, which gives us 7 feet. And a total stair length, right, of 14, because we have 14 stairs and they're each a foot wide, both treads. So now we have 14 feet. So instead of this right here, 15 feet times 50 and 15, now minus 15, instead of the 35-foot landing, we have a 36-foot landing because we took away a step, right? So we have 14 steps. 14 steps gives us a 14 steps times 1 foot, because each tread is 1 foot. That simply equals 14. So 14 feet horizontally is covered by the stairs. So we've got to subtract that 14 right up here. So right, we've got 14 steps now, times 1, because that's how wide the tread is, equals 14 feet. So our stairs horizontally take up, of this distance here, 14 feet. 14 stairs, 1 foot wide treads. So now we can take the total 50 feet minus the 14. 50 feet is the total distance minus the stairs, and that equals 36 feet. So now we have 36 feet of landing, right? We have 36 feet of landing, 14 feet of stairs equals 50 feet total distance. So with that, we can double check now and see what our grade's going to be now. So we have, we'll determine the vertical change in this, let's see here, determine vertical change in elevation for the landing. So 14 steps, they drop 7 feet. We've got that right here. 14 steps times 0.5, which is the riser. That's 7 feet vertically. That's the drop of the stairs, right? 14 stairs, they all drop a half a foot. That's 7 feet. If it's 7 feet and we have 7.72, that leaves 0.72 feet. Oh, I keep thinking I'm off it. Leaves 0.72 feet vertical for the landings. Right? We have 14 stairs times a half foot for each riser equals 7 feet vertical for the stairs. So the stairs, 7 feet, plus the landings, 0.72, equals our total 7.72 feet. Because remember, we took this elevation from this elevation and we got 7.72 feet. So of that 7.72 feet, 7 feet is stairs, 0.72 feet is landing. So now let's check that and see if we have a slope between 1.5 or to 1.5 to 2% for our landing. So slope is vertical divided by height, or vertical divided by horizontal. So let's go vertical, 0.72 divided by horizontal. So now our horizontal, if we write that down here, we've got 14 steps. 14 steps times 1. So 14 feet horizontal for the steps. Then we've got 50 feet minus 14, 36 feet for the landing. So that means we have 0.72 feet vertical, 36 feet horizontal for the landing, and that equals 0.02 or 2%. So now it works. Our landings are going to be 2%, which is within the what we have between 1.5% and 2%. So this will work. So let's now go ahead and draw out what we've got. We're going to have 3 landings, 3 equal landings. So if we've got 3 equal landings, and landings are, it's 36 feet total landing. If we have 3 equal, 36 divided by 3 equals 12. So each landing will be 12 feet long. Total of 3 landings equaling 36 feet. So with that, let's draw the first landing at 12 feet. Put my glasses back on here. So this is 12 feet here to here. And you can draw. Now remember, this is not a solid line. This is your dashed line, because this is the top of your steps. So top of the step is that expansion joint that connects this top step to the landing. So that's where they come together. So now we have a total of 14 steps, right? So 14, and we're going to do them equal. So if there's 14, it means we have 7 steps and 7 steps, right? So we'll draw those in. 14 steps total, 2 equal sets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Draw it over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's stand up here so I can do this. Hopefully it's not getting too dark. I'm not. 2, 3, 4. So we've got the expansion joint, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we got to do another 12 feet for landing, right? Because each landing is 12 feet. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 8, 10, 11, 12. And we'll draw that. This is the expansion joint, or top of step. And we got to draw 7 more steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Same thing over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Draw those steps in. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then this bottom one is 12 feet. So 12 feet. So 3 landings, 12 feet. We'll draw now at your expansion joint. You just draw a line over. This is this. And what I'm doing here is I'm dimensioning. So I just do lines like this. So we have 12 feet, 7 feet, 12 feet, 7 feet, 12 feet. That equals 50 feet, and we have 3 equal landings and 2 sets of stairs. So now the flights of stairs, we did the equal flight, 7 and 7. We could have done 3 equal landings. 3 equal landings. You kind of have to do 3 equal sets of stairs, but you could do, you could do 5 steps instead of 7 and 7. You could do 8 steps and 6, or you could, they don't have to be exactly the same. You just want to have no more than 10 in a flight and no less than 3, just as a tripping hazard. You'll see it, but the ideal is to have at least 3 steps. Okay, so now we've got to grade this out, but let's put railings in first, just real quick. So 8 scale, I just come in a 1/2 foot on each side. about a half a foot. And remember, we have to extend it a foot beyond the bottom. So same thing here. Put it in each side and then come foot extension. So we can draw in our railings. And the railings start 1 foot right at the top of your expansion joint. That's where, and then they come, start at your expansion joint. That gives you that foot extension above, and then you go 1 foot beyond your last riser. That gives you that 1 foot extension below, and that's a requirement. So draw these on both sides. Boom. So those just went a little too far on that one, but there you go. So now we've got our landings, and then the landings we set our 2%, which we calculated that. So we'll just mark 2%, 2%, and 2%, because we figured that earlier right here, remember? That's where we calculated these were 2%. So now we just got to figure out our grades. We know this is 108 feet, or 108.5 feet vertically, and we got to figure out what the vertical drop is here. Well, we need to know 2 out of 3 things, which here we happen to know the horizontal distance, and we know the slope. So what we've got to find is the vertical. Vertical equals horizontal times slope. So horizontal is 12 times 0.02. All right, your slope, what's that equal? Let me check my calculator. So 12 times 0.02 equals 0.24. So 108.5 minus 0.24, 108.5 minus 0.24 equals 108.26. So your top of step here is 108.26. So we did 12 times 0.02, which equals 12 times 0.02, 0.24. We'll write that down, 0.24, because all the landings are going to be the same. That way we won't have to do it again. So now this is 108.26, and then we drop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps. Each riser is half a foot or 6 inches. So we've got 7 of them. So that's 3.5 feet. So we've got to drop from the top of stairs to the bottom of the stair 3.5 feet. So we go 108.5 to 108.26, 108.26, and we subtract 3.5. That gives us 104.76. 04.76. So we just took the top of step, subtracted the 3.5 feet from the risers, and that gives us 104.76. Now we're going 2%, 12 feet again. That's that calculation right here. So we just got to take away this 0.24 again to get top of step here. So 104.76 minus 0.24 equals 104.52. 104.52. So I just took this elevation, the bottom of the steps, 12 feet at 2%, 12 feet times 0.02 equals 0.24. So we subtracted 0.24 from this amount, and we got 104.52. So now we've got 7 more steps, another 3.5 feet. We have to subtract 3.5, and we get 101.52. 101.02. Bottom of step, 101.02. Just took another 3.5 feet, and then 12 feet at 2%. Again, 0.24. If you take away 101, you subtract 0.24 from that number, 0.24. 0.24 equals 100.78. And there's 100.78. So there you go. You got all the way down 2 flights of stairs, and you got the grades are correct, so everything's good. That's how that problem is done. And then what you need to do also is, oh, let's see here, something popped up on my screen, is fill in the boxes here. So the vertical distance, stairs, distance in feet, vertical. Your total vertical distance, 7 feet, right? We talked about that. The landings, the total is 0.72 feet. That's that number right there, right? We got that. And that equals 7.72 feet, which is the total distance from the top to the bottom. That's that number right there. Horizontally, for the stairs, we did 14 feet. And for the landings, we did 36 feet. 36 feet plus 14 feet, that gave us our total of 50 feet, which is the total distance. Total number of steps, 14, right? Slope of the landing, 2%. Length of the typical landing, 12 feet. So all we're doing is just filling in the information here that you did. Now let's go distance in feet. Stair 1. Vertical distance in feet of stair 1, 3.5 feet. Remember, there's 7 steps. It drops vertically 3.5 feet. Same thing for stair number 2, step number 2. Total is 7 feet. 7 feet a drop. And then horizontally, 7 feet, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 feet, 7 feet equals 14 feet total, which is that same number right there, 14. And then distance in feet for the landings. Landings was vertically, we had a total of, where was it? I wrote on here, 0.72. It's just off the page here. Can't see it, but 0.72 feet. That's how far we dropped. And we had 3 landings, so each landing 0.24 feet. These are all 0.24, 0.24, for a total of 0.72. And then our horizontal distance for our landings was 12 feet, 12 feet, and 12 feet, for a total of 36 feet. 36 feet plus the 14 feet equals 50 feet. So that's how you fill that in, and that's how you complete this exercise.